Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do this. So, Josh, I have to tell you a happy good morning because we're recording early this morning. And how you feeling?
Early morning.
True. How you feeling about it?
I'm good. I definitely think I sound weird, but other than that, I'm feeling good. I have a hard time waking up in the morning, so I have a bracelet that shocks me awake, and it gives you a nice adrenaline rush that kind of gets you through the morning.
I forgot that you have a bracelet that shocks you. Why? What in the world? I mean, okay, you know how like masochistic that sounds? Like, do you enjoy this shock?
No, I don't. But I am so bad at waking up to alarms that when I switched my job and I needed to start getting up at 4 a.m. for this job, I got hired for a midday shift, but they forced me to train on a morning shift. And I was like, oh no. Like, I specifically went for a midday shift so that I wouldn't have to get up super early. Well, that didn't happen. So I was like, I need to figure out some way to get into work and like be on time every day when I struggle to wake up. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? So I started looking around and I was like, is there anything? And I found something that shocked me. And I was like, well, that'll do. It's like a little bracelet you wear.
So, okay, for podcasts, for listeners, we were supposed to record, last Tuesday as well, early in the morning, but somebody didn't wake up. Cough.
Yes, because I forgot to set an alarm.
So did you forget to set your shock bracelet?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. My shock bracelet was still set for my normal wake-up time, which is 7:45, even on days I don't have work.
Oh no, I didn't realize. I thought when you said like you forgot to set an alarm, I thought it was just like a phone alarm, not a shock bracelet alarm.
No, shock bracelet alarm.
So how good of a job does that waking you up? Because I feel
it's so good. It gives you a nice I honestly at this point I like wait for it in the morning. Like even if I wake up ahead of time, I wait for it to shock me before I take it off because.
You're like, shock me, daddy bracelet.
Of course you had to take it there. No.
I did.
It kind of gives you like this adrenaline rush. And even when I wake up like super early, like at 4 and stuff to go to these days of work, I don't feel tired.
Wow.
Like it really starts the day off right. It's like a good shot of coffee.
I don't normally have problems waking up early. Like I usually get up. Well, like this morning, for example, I have 2 alarm clocks. One is my dog. Okay, my dog is awful. He wakes me up. I mean, it's 4:30 every morning. He's waking me up because he either has to go to the bathroom or he's protesting because he needs food. And he is what he'll do is he'll pick up his food bowl, and just throw it. I mean, just throw it everywhere. And then he's found,
does it still have stuff in it when he throws it?
Oh yeah. He's picky.
All over.
Oh yeah, everywhere. So then I have to clean it up, which is what I was doing this morning. Because then he throws his food, and his food is he doesn't eat anything but like canned or if I put like beef broth in his food, because he's picky. And if he didn't eat it all from the previous time I fed him, he'll throw it everywhere. And so like I have to clean it. Otherwise, he'll throw it around on the floor. But if I don't clean it, then he gets angry because he wants to eat, and because he eats at his own time. You know, I feed him 2 times a day, but he's like, I choose these times to eat, and I will tell you about these times.
Yeah.
And he's found in my room a lampshade. So in the room I'm staying in right now, there are like my mom. So I moved back in with my parents because I'm doing finishing school, and in the room that I'm staying in, my mom loves to decorate everything. She is a crazy decorator, and she has like these little glass lampshades that sit on tiny little like bottles, like whiskey bottles. And he's figured out that if he puts his nose in this glass lampshade, he can move it and it rings like a bell, and it goes ting 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 ting. So every morning he barks. Well, he doesn't bark. He does like more like a exaggerated sigh. He's like, ah. But then he'll go, But then he'll go and he'll put his nose in this lampshade and just ding 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 ding. So that's my first alarm. My second alarm is a bird, as we've heard throughout the podcast.
So,
First light, bird is up
question
and
about
screaming.
that.
So, you know.
Is the bird not in your room now that you're back with living somewhere else?
Yeah, bird is not in my room, which is why we don't have
Yeah,
bird
which is why we haven't
noises
heard
anymore.
bird in
Because
the
the
last
bird
few
is
episodes. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I
So
appreciate it
she's in her
immensely.
own little bird space. Yeah, I know, it's wonderful. So she's in her own little bird space, but I can still hear her because she screams.
Yeah.
So she's next to a window right now. And I'm living in a very open area. I'm living in like farm country right now.
Mm-hmm.
So like it is bright early in the morning. So she's screaming early in the morning, and then I'm just really good at waking up. I just normally am. Today I was not, however, because I got like 2 hours of sleep, maybe if I was lucky. I did not sleep at all, but it kind of, which we're getting late already, but it kind of reminded me of one of my favorite stories in Skyrim, one of my favorite missions that you go in Skyrim. And I want you to guess, because you've played Skyrim before. I want you to guess what mission I'm talking about. It revolves around sleep.
Deep.
Oh, don't tell me you don't remember.
I mean, the only one I can think of, which I really don't like Skyrim.
Oh, whoa, hot take.
Not
Hot
really.
take.
I loved it when it first came out. I played it for hours and hours and hours, and I could never play it now. It just is not fun.
I think that's not a hot take. Skyrim for me was a great game when it came out. I enjoyed it, but I don't play it very much.
Yeah.
I play it a lot with mods, or is it like modding the game? It's really fun to like mod the game, but other than that,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a
Kinda lost my
sleep
interest.
one, and the only one I could think of where like you might have gone unconscious is like the one in the for Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince. But that's probably not right.
The one I'm thinking of is when you head to Dawnstar, which is the city one of the snowy cities.
Like north,
Um,
east, or northwest.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
the map.
yeah, yeah. Everybody there is suffering because they cannot sleep because they've been having horrible nightmares. And so they've like the whole town is like every person you talk to in the town is like, oh, I wish I could sleep. You know, like like literally the entire town. And then you end up talking to a priest there who sends you on a quest to go figure out why everybody's having nightmares. And I, for some reason, always loved that quest. And I guess spoilers. I don't want to. I guess
It's
it's
the
been
game
out
has
for
been out for
50 years.
so long and been released so many times. You're good.
Yeah. But essentially, you go into this old temple and you end up making your way through this like miasma that has put everybody to sleep because there was an invasion of orcs in this temple. And anyways, long story short, there's something in the temple that's causing everybody to have nightmares. You fight it, you kill it, you do your thing, and bam, you saved the day. You're the hero of Dawnstar. And I wanted to talk about, because we talked a little bit about it on our Baldur's Gate episode as well, long resting in D&D. Because
Can I say something?
for me, which we've talked, yeah, go for it.
This is coming out before that episode that you just
Oh
mentioned
yeah, I
in
know.
this episode.
Shoot. Well, too late. You know, who cares? You know, here we are now.
Next episode will be that Baldur's Gate episode that he just mentioned, just so you know, listeners.
Yeah, everybody's aware now. Spoilers, not spoilers. But I want to talk about long resting in D&D because I know we've talked a little bit about it on the podcast, but I want to know, when you're playing D&D, how do you, first of all, interrupt long rests? Do you interrupt long rests?
Yeah.
So do you ever do like nighttime encounters and things like that?
For sure.
And then second, justification for long resting where you sleep and you're magically perfectly better when you wake up in the morning.
The second one's pretty easy.
Because if you can't tell, Josh has to shock himself in the morning in order to wake up. So, you know, let alone getting blasted by a fire blast from a dragon, you know?
Your second question is super easy to answer. The first one is have I ever done do I do like nighttime encounters? And yes, as long as it like makes sense. A lot of times I've gotten more into the habit of not forcing a nighttime encounter, but like giving an opportunity really for a nighttime encounter, which I like an example of that was I would have the party hear screaming nearby. They're not being attacked. Someone else is being attacked in the night, and they decide whether they want to go and help or not.
I'll sleep in. Screw them.
So it's not like it also one, it doesn't like catch them off guard. Like it doesn't like I think there's some fun with that, but I really need the situation to be right to kind of, hey, you haven't had your long rest yet, um,
Yeah,
but you still get the fun of, oh no, it's a surprise encounter at night.
I think building off of that also, I'm also really careful about when I do combats during long rests because I don't know. As a player, I never enjoyed them very much because it almost just felt like, and I think this has to do with like your timing and if it makes sense. But oftentimes the DMs that I've been under have like thrown nighttime encounters when it just felt like all it was is to challenge because we're short from
A
the
hundred
day
percent,
before,
a
like it
hundred
didn't
percent. It's because
it didn't
it
feel.
didn't feel like it made sense. It felt like
Yeah,
because you guys are like, oh, you're getting through too easily, or hey, I want to challenge you a
yep,
little more. That's why I'm going to do this. I 100% agree
yep,
with that.
yep, and so I think that's why I've kind of been turned off of nighttime encounters because it's like, oh, we went through this whole long day, we're low on spells, we're low on HP, and then
Mm-hmm.
oh, surprise, nighttime encounter because I can, like that's kind of what it felt like to me for in a lot of ways. So I think timing and it making sense is really really important. Um, I think the most famous nighttime encounter I remember in a media setting is definitely in Critical Role when Vax gets ambushed by himself, like pretty much gets attacked. Um, I think that's probably the most memorable. I don't know if you remember that time in Critical Role, but in that
Not
first campaign.
100%, but
But
I
yeah, I mean, I guess it's been out for a long time, but essentially a Rakshasa that they had fought previously and sent back to the Hells
I
to get
definitely
tormented
remember the
forever
Rakshasa. That's
came
for
back.
sure.
Yeah, he came back and he disguised himself as Gilmore, which and like seduced Vax to bring him outside and then tried to murder him. So
Mm,
like that's probably the most memorable night. It turned into a whole nighttime encounter, but that's probably the most memorable one I remember, and I think
yeah.
that was really well done because it made story sense. But um, how do you justify long rests? Because I've always had a hard time of like, oh, you've been beat up by so many things and you have huge cuts and you're burned from a dragon, but you wake
So
up fine.
the major difference that is in the way you think of what hit points are.
Mm,
The best way I heard it described to me, where it's like trying to hear, this is why it makes sense. Hit points are not like health.
like getting cut.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I got cut. It's I avoided a cut. It's how much luck do you
Yeah.
have before, how much luck do you have before your luck runs out, type thing. Like, you can take more damage, yes, and that would also make you be able to withstand more, so you'd have more of these quote unquote hit points. But most of the
Mm,
time you're avoiding these attacks, and it's only so long that you can do that before you take a like incredibly major hit that will take you down.
yeah. I think my issue with that is like I have a hard time picturing like I'm just gonna use this example because it's called Dungeons and Dragons. But let's say you're fighting a dragon and they fire breath you for 80 HP, right? Um,
Well,
I
that's
have a hard time
you're still
seeing how
burning
you
and stuff.
dodge it. You know?
Well, no, you're still burning and stuff. You're still taking some damage and such, but you're
Yeah.
not taking. It's not like it's not. You're not taking a debilitating hit. You're not taking a major hit. So like the way I saw it described was including with like critical hits. So critical hits are when they actually like full on are able to get a full on hit on you. So when you don't,
Yeah.
you're not able to dodge out of the way. That's why it's so much more damage. Um,
Mm. Yeah. I think for me, I've just had a hard time with it. So I've always just been like, oh, it's a game. This is the game mechanic of it.
yeah.
Like that's kind of just how I've always looked at it. Which I guess is kind of a boring way to look at it, but it's like you can't have D&D without being able to recover your hit points, recover your spell slots. Like you just can't. I don't know. Like it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's such a combat-based game that like, well, not as much anymore, but it's very heavily combat focused in a lot of ways. So it's just a mechanic to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I just don't normally even justify it. I've made worlds where it's like I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I've made worlds where it's like every PC, every character, like player character is has some sort of like magic. They're connected to the weave of some, some way that like helps magically restore them when they sleep, and not everybody has access to that, which can be fun. But
that is one of the ones that I want to play next. I have a world idea that I want to run where it's gonna be like just like the most basic medieval setting, but there's a few almost like superheroes, and the only way that you can become a better superhero is if you kill another superhero. So that's how you get experience.
Oh gosh.
So that's how you get experience points.
Oh gosh.
So there are some that are pretty evil because they just want to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So they are quote unquote villains, big bad evil guys and such. And then there are just the majority of people, which are just basic medieval people that have no benefit, no magic. They can't cast spells. They're not a barbarian. They don't have anything. And so it's like a world of superheroes, but still set in a fantasy setting, which is I think an interesting idea.
I think, and I think that's kind of I run a lot of my worlds like that, not so, most everybody in the world of D&D is, a peasant with 2 HP, and 10s across the board, or less than 10s, but that to me sounds like a really cool concept for an anime. I'm not going to lie. It just does. And
I can see that.
I've played around with the idea. At a long rest, like using that concept, like if you're tethered to something that restores you, like the story is like that tether is breaking, and like you take a long rest, but you don't actually get a long rest in some circumstances. But that has to be done really carefully. But that'd be very interesting. So the story kind of revolves around, oh no, how do we,
I mean, that reminds me
stop
of.
ourselves from...
I mean, that is the story of Tomb of Annihilation, of somebody is suddenly taking the power from the ability to like have like power over life and death. And so now all these clerics and stuff who've revived people and healed people are not as potent as they normally are, and they're like, what's going on? We got to figure this out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that could be a fun little story, but it's 20 minutes in. We
should probably get to the topic.
What do you got for us today, Josh?
So I have a very interesting topic this week. It is a
point of advice.
Yes.
In storytelling, never say you have an interesting topic or a funny topic, because people then think it's going to be cooler than it is, and never do it.
I have the absolute most boring topic this week for you, Aaron.
Perfect. Yes.
You're gonna be
ready.
You're gonna be snoozing.
I got my pillow.
But it starts with an interesting little story. This week, we are still talking about a topic related to Baldur's Gate 3, but in more of a context way, not a spoiler way. In the city of Baldur's Gate in the game, there is a group of people called the Gondians. Now, sadly, I decided to do something that seemingly got nearly all of them killed. It was unintentional.
Oh, great.
And sad, but I went through a load zone. I was in an elevator. I went down in the elevator. It was suddenly a fight, and I was surrounded by enemies. I just said, okay, well, I'm going to use the elevator again. And I did, and I went back up.
No.
I came back around to another door, opened the door, went back into that load zone. All the enemies were over there on the left. had no enemies around me on the right. Turns out, even though it didn't show up in the initiative, there were good guys in this room. And by me leaving, that gave them infinite turns to destroy these good guys.
Oh no.
So I came back and they were all dead. It wasn't good. But
no.
All in all,
why?
I was like,
you set them to their death.
I did,
because you were afraid.
No.
You were a big fat chicken, and you were like, too many bad guys. Gotta go back up the load zone.
That's exactly what I did. Now, I wanted to figure out, who are Gondians? Is it a race? Is it a people
they're dead
group?
now.
Like, what is it? Yeah, they're dead now, but... and upon searching, nothing comes up for Gondian on any of the websites I use for research. Like, I couldn't find anything on Gondians in the world of D&D.
Except for people who follow the prophet Gandhi.
Well, Well, except I did find a god in the Faerun deity called Gond, and
Okay,
so I
okay.
believe Gondians were his followers.
See, that's a much better name than Ball Spawn. I'm not gonna lie. Much better name.
It's true. Um,
Just so much better.
Gond. It also makes sense that they would be followers of Gond because of who they are in the game. But Gond is the god of craft, smithing, and inventiveness, which is in line as what the people are portrayed as in the game.
I'm confused. Wait, I'm confused. Where
Mm-hmm.
did Gon go?
He got gone.
If he's gone, where did he go?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's gone.
okay. Oh, okay. Oh.
Ridiculous.
Oh, don't give me that. Don't
This
give me
week
that. You're the king of terrible, stupid puns. Get
I
out of here.
am.
Get to your
I
dumb
am.
story.
Well, so this week we're talking about Gond. Now, Gond was known by many names. Zionil in the Shining Lands, Nibelune in the Gnomes. He also went by Aranalaris, Balantang, Deros, Clanauda, Marangor, and Tataba.
You know, you're ending all of these names as if I could give you advice on how to pronounce them, and I have no idea. I'm just nodding my head. I'm just, yep, that's right. That's perfect. Great job.
Gond spent much of his time inventing and was credited in the creation of thousands of artifacts. Even if he didn't have a hand in it, Gond spent much of his time inspiring and intriguing his followers into building or upgrading many different types of technology. Now, the worship of Gond is pretty spread out through Faerun now, but the island nation of Lantan is seen as one of its main sources, as many from there follow Gond and slowly spread his name. His following was big in Lantan, mainly because of the Times of Troubles. Now, Aaron, do you remember what the Times of Troubles were? I know we've talked about them many times.
No, I know it's referenced in a Beatles song, but Mother Mary comes to me, so.
Speaking words of wisdom, if I remember correctly. Let it be.
Exactly.
Let it be.
Oh, man.
So, the Times of Troubles is the times when some gods tried to steal something from the over deity, like the god of gods, and
okay.
he cast all of them as mortals back to the planet. When he did this, all of them appeared as their avatars that were mortal on Toril, and Gond ended up appearing as a gnome washed up on Lantan. They noticed his godhood and worshipped him, to which, when he was returned to his power, he reciprocated and taught them how to make pretty much D&D's version of gunpowder called smoke powder.
Hey, I know where you're going with this.
And no, different people.
Oh,
and relatively safe early firearms, which became an incredible commodity they traded and used to spread their faith. In Baldur's Gate, the game, you can meet other people that know how to make smoke powder. I think they call theirs rune powder. It's different.
I think there are smoke powder bombs though, aren't
there?
there?
There are. But rune powder is
They've
like
definitely thrown a few.
Yeah, but rune powder is like a step above. It's like there's smoke powder, which is pretty strong, and then above that is rune powder, which is like a stronger form. But smoke powder is what he taught his people how to make and use firearms in the Forgotten Realms. They spread it through Waterdeep and its many trade routes to all sides of Faerun, including in Baldur's Gate. The articles I read actually made a point to say that their influence is readily apparent in Baldur's Gate, as they lead many civil projects and spread their invention throughout the city. Now, the invention of these firearms and clear distribution of them by the Church of Gond brought a lot of anger towards them, as many in positions of power saw it as a threat to their authority. Now, I need to point out some of the crazy shit that you see while researching something in a piece of literature or of a world built that has had, like, I forget how many years they had now. Like, are they about to have like the 50 year or 60 year or something like that? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's a long time.
There's been a lot of years.
I keep forgetting it's 2023, so yeah, probably 50 years. Maybe?
Yeah. So they have put a lot of time and effort into world building, and they've done it over many generations. Things get crazy in the lore after all that time. So as I was reading, this sentence came up. Gond was accepted among the gnomish pantheon as Nebelun, the meddler. Through a small group believed that Nebelun was a separate deity, though the latter was correct. Nebelun was only active in other crystal spheres, leaving the Faerunian Lord of all Smiths free to take his place in the realms. What the heck is a crystal sphere? They sound pretty major.
I'm lost. Crystal sphere.
Why is this the first time I'm hearing about them? Crystal sphere took me on a massive sidetrack into all these details about how space works and wild space in D&D, and man, it's some crazy stuff.
A crystal sphere. If I had to guess, I don't know.
It's like think of it like
it's probably like a world bubble.
No, it's bigger than that. Think of like our solar system. That's one crystal sphere.
Okay.
Another solar system. Another crystal sphere.
Oh, I did not know D&D had this kind of deep lore.
Well, I mean, they have Spelljammer. They have spaceships. They have all that stuff. So they had.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, dude. The way space works in D&D is freaking wild. If you use a fly spell,
don't they do Magic of the Gathering too?
I don't know much about the Magic the Gathering world I don't know as much.
Because didn't they do like a bunch of crossover campaigns and stuff?
They did.
Because I remember we got like blue jetpacks or whatever.
Yeah, you went to Kaladesh.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
But the thing is, if you cast a fly spell on yourself and you flew out of the atmosphere of the planet, the way it all works in D&D is you still have enough of a gravitational pull that you have like this bubble of air protecting you in space.
Oh, is that the crystal sphere?
No, but like it's like just around your body. So if you leave the atmosphere, you have like a bubble of atmosphere around yourself to protect you, and once you have until that goes away to like continue breathing.
To get to your destination?
No, to just continue breathing, because it's like a bubble of air. So if you breathe all the air out of it, it's not replenishing oxygen. So it's like the way it works is so different from ours and so weird. We'll have to do like a whole episode on it, but
yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder what their justification for that is. Just fun and magic.
I think the biggest thing is they didn't want someone to just die if they got like knocked off one of these spaceships.
If they got hit by a giant from Skyrim and the game glitched and they get sent rocketing into space. My favorite part of Skyrim.
It's ridiculous and I love it. The ragdoll physics. Okay, as I said earlier, Gond has appeared as a gnome when his avatar formed on the planet. This news made it back to the gnome civilizations, and many younger gnomes began to worship him and see his incarnation as a gnome as a sign. In the early years of this idea, it was hated and frowned upon by many of the communities of gnomes. But over the years, the faith held strong and developed inside these communities until it gained greater acceptance, to which it has now. We're going to go on one more sidetrack.
Oh,
I was looking at the whole Gond like church, the Church of Gond, and how they all operate and stuff, and it was talking about one of the most powerful people in Baldur's Gate being a worshiper of Gond, and they were talking about him, and he was one of these Grand Dukes, which actually reminds me that I figured out how the government works in Baldur's Gate, and it's like there's 4 Grand Dukes, and then there's the Parliament of Peers. So,
Oh,
yeah, so
interesting.
he is he was one of these Grand Dukes. He's not anymore, but he was, and there was one paragraph for his like history and who he was, and it just made me want to like learn more about this guy. This person is named Torlin Silvershield. He was the head of the Church of Gond for quite a few years, and this is the paragraph that was written up in the Forgotten Realms wiki about Torlin. Torlin was the leader of the greatest noble family of Baldur's Gate, and the high priest of the grandest temple. He helped defend the city from Valarkin's coup, and helped to establish the Parliament of Peers in 1482 DR. Torlin was involved in the crisis that culminated in the resurrection of Baal. Eventually, he became the chosen of the resurrected Baal. Torlin was later captured by the Red Wizards of Thay, who transported him to the Doom Vault for experimentation and transformed him into a wight.
What the? Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's so much to happen to him, and I have so many questions.
Yeah, I mean, who are the Red Wizards? The Red Wizards.
You don't know about the Red Wizards of Thay?
I don't know about the Red Wizards of Thay.
Have you watched the D&D movie?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, they're the main villains in that.
I've heard it's good.
It is very good.
I've heard it's
the
good,
Red
though.
Wizards of Thay. So there's a nation called Thay, and Thay is run by a bunch of liches. A bunch of it's a magocracy run by a bunch of powerful liches. Well, a bunch of years back.
You know what they say, liches get stitches.
That's true. Like hundreds and hundreds of years back, one of this like council of powerful people in Thay called Zaztam.
Oh no.
What he did was he did this crazy ritual to kill all the other like council like leaders of this nation, gaining great power to himself and also creating a crazy undead army. Well, now he rules as this incredibly powerful lich god thing of the Thay, and Thay all their wizards wear red. That's why they're called the Red Wizards of Thay, and they are hated pretty much everywhere. They are because they're very deadly. They just cause a lot of problems when they go anywhere.
Well, yeah. They serve a bunch of liches. Of course they would be.
Yeah, well, it's just one now because he killed all the others to gain power.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they constantly try to sabotage other nations, kill a bunch of people, create a bunch of undead, like a lot of things that are generally frowned upon in society.
Well, depends on your perspective.
So he got on their bad side somehow, and I definitely want to know more about Torlin Silvershield.
Yeah, and then he got turned into a white, which sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Now, Gond, like most gods in the Forgotten Realms, is confusing on what his moral compass is. And if he is good or bad or in between, he could be like the goddess Mystra, who doesn't give a shit about good or bad. She just wants people to use magic and will happily empower the worst of the worst because she knows that they will use it to create thousands of magic items for their army, all making her stronger.
Okay, not gonna lie, that's a dick move.
Mystra's terrible. Mystra,
wow.
She is the most
I didn't realize she was that bad.
Oh, no, she's the most neutral of all gods. She doesn't care about anything. She just says, hey, as long as you, use magic, I'm cool with you.
Make cool stuff. Wow.
Yeah, use magic and I'm cool with you. I don't care what you do with it. You could kill people. You could do whatever. It doesn't matter.
Wow, that's a really interesting concept for a god. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, her thing is magic, so she's like, I don't care otherwise. Just do what you will.
Resurrect undead armies, do all of it. It's pretty cool, as long as you're using
Summon
magic.
Demons
that's
to
great.
Attack cities. I don't care.
Wow.
Yeah, she's wild. I don't like her. That's why when in Baldur's Gate 3 how they vilify Shar, and then they're like, "Oh, but one of your companions is a huge fan of Mistra, and she's all
Hey,
good." And you're like, "No, she's not.
listen.
No,
You
she's
know, when you're
terrible,
sleeping
dude."
with a god, everything's probably good at that time. You know.
Yeah, for him, maybe. Uh,
Yeah. He's using magic in a different way. That's for sure.
he's got the magic in him. He's got the magic,
No,
baby.
no, no.
uh, so I say all of this about, I don't know, his morality, because about 100 years before the events of Baldur's Gate 3, the very clearly evil god Cyric commissioned Gon to make powerful suits of armor for his army of Inquisitors. And when he was fully armed, he started a mass murder of all the followers of the god Bane.
Nice.
Now,
nice.
this is still up in the air whether this is a bad thing, because he gave a bad guy lots of weapons so that he could take out another evil guy's followers.
Yeah, that's kind of like 3D chess, though, I think.
Did he know what was going to be done with the equipment? I don't know. Did he just empower him for no reason?
Yeah, it's just 3D chess. He knew that they were going to kill each other, so, you know, might as well.
Ultimately, this god Gond is fascinating and an enigma. But I think he has a lot of fun world building that he changed the world drastically. And I think we should either look to making either a god or a pantheon of a few, or even just like a powerful being that changed the world somehow. That's what I think we should make for our topic this.
Okay. Do you have any initial ideas right off the jump?
Right off the jump, I don't have anything that's we gotta meet. I think it was just those ideas of like making a god, or maybe like a pantheon of a few, or even just like a powerful being that had some sort of major effect on the world.
Okay, I have one idea that I'm not sold on, but it's just a fun idea. What if there was like a being who created the pillars? Because that would have a pretty huge impact on the world. Because our world has these pillars that you know, you can connect to. So that could be interesting. Like if we made some sort of, it doesn't have to be a god, I guess it could be whatever. That could be a way we go, or we could just start making a pantheon.
We should call the god or whatever that made the pillars Bang, and just make him pretty big.
No. We're definitely not gonna make him the Big Bang. That's not what we're gonna do. Oh, we could call him the Huge Bang. That'd be interesting.
No. Just make him really big, and make him really big, and you make him named Bang, and then just make sure to have plenty of NPCs call him like, "Man, you're so huge."
It's
like everybody sees
Bang.
that big is an option to say, and nobody's saying big. They're all saying, "Man, you're a huge Bang."
That's so dumb. That's so dumb. No, but
it's stupid.
Yeah, you were mad at me for making a lame joke, and here you are talking about the Big Bang and making all your NPCs not say big. What the heck is wrong with you?
It's true. Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, I don't know, but so then didn't we talk about a little bit of like these pillars are actually entities themselves, like slumbering nature spirits or slumbering world spirits?
Sorry, what was that?
We did talk a little bit about, I think, the pillars themselves being like entities, like world spirits or something like that. We did talk a little bit about that. It might be something. But otherwise, like making somebody who created the pillars, I think is a good idea, or something that created the pillars, because then it would at least, you know, set a foundation for our world. Or we can start making a pantheon, because I do love creating pantheons. Pantheons are very fun to make for me. I think they're one of the most interesting parts of a world is building a pantheon.
I also
including a lack thereof.
Yes, I think my favorite part about making a pantheon is the part where you really have to dive into like what is important to this, like what would they see as worshipable? Because I always like to create them as like not as just gods that existed. I mean, that's what they were, but I like to create them the same way that, pardon my French, we created them on Earth.
Yeah.
As a lot of times it was, hey, the sun is very important to our culture. we're going to worship it and create a
Yep.
name for what that god is, and so on and so on.
Yep. No, and I think we did that one season where people created gods by when they what they saw around them. So they created like a river god, and it actually turned into a god of a river.
Yeah.
I think that's always a really, really fun concept. But um, I think we should do some sort of like traditional pantheon when we make a pantheon here, because it's going to be people who have ascended to godhood through connecting to the pillars, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my thought is with that is each pillar represents something different, right? Because they're like these nature spirits. So we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about elements, like Avatar. We were talking something along those lines. So maybe the pantheon is broken up into based on what the pillars are that they connected to. So if you
Yeah.
connected to the forest, pillar, you're the god of trees, right? And you're a god of animals. You're a god of the hunt. Like stuff that's related to nature could be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or we could do the opposite where it doesn't matter. You just gain power. So it doesn't matter which one you connect to. You just gain power and you get to choose what you're um the god of, I guess. How does that work in D&D? Like when the Raven Queen ascended, did she get to like choose her pantheon? How did she become the goddess of death or whatever?
I think for the Raven Queen situation, I think she went for a very specific thing.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know what didn't she like? It wasn't part of her ascension to godhood becoming that part of the pantheon. I think that's kind of what happened, but I don't remember.
So it looks like she was an Elven Queen to start with, or at least that's what the much of it has been lost to time. Who she what truly was. Um, what the? This is wild, man.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is
know much about
wild.
her story to be
I don't
honest.
know if
I guess
she
we're gonna have to do
actually
an
like.
episode.
Yeah, oh, it's definitely gonna be another episode. But I don't know if she like went for what she went for. But it looks like they tried to they tried to do this magic ritual. Um, I can't even like it's not saying anything about like it was for godhood, but everybody says that she specifically went for godhood. Like everything I've heard somebody talk about her was that's what it was about.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought I remember hearing a story of like she was able to get to godhood because of the pantheon she chose, but I know that's probably completely wrong because I don't know anything about
I
D&D
mean, well,
even
so
after
so she did
podcast.
she did do it because for the elven gods is definitely what she did because she was an elven queen. They call it the Seldarin is what the good elven pantheon is. Um,
Mm,
but she was trying to. Oh, okay. She was trying to reunify the elven pantheon and the sundered elves. However,
interesting.
evil wizards among the queen's followers attempted to divert some of the energy from the ritual to amplify their own power. So she was trying to get to like elven heaven. And moments before completing the ritual and reaching Arvandor, elven heaven, the queen reacted by punishing the wizards with a burst of divine fury. This curse corrupted the ritual into a siphon that dragged the queen and her followers into the Shadowfell, where she was instantly killed.
Oh gosh. How the heck did she make it to godhood then?
However, thanks to her recently acquired divine powers, so it was because it partially worked. It looks like it was already started to work. Okay, no, she rallied her followers to perform a powerful ritual that in order to become a deity, so she could leverage. Okay, so she was trying to bring about the there's two elven pantheons, a good pantheon and a bad pantheon. It looks like she was trying to become a deity so she could merge them and say, why do we need to be good and evil? Like, can't we just be a elven pantheon?
Yeah.
And so, during this ritual, things went wrong. She had traveled to the Shadowfell and died, but only because of the partial success, she did not fully die. But while she was still like transforming into her final form, two well-known evil deities of elven pantheons, Coralon and Lolth, considered her actions to be treason and erased her memories.
Oh gosh.
Erased her from the memory of all elves. So nobody remembers this elven queen anymore. In order,
Oh.
yeah. as they saw what she was trying to do to was trying to erase them almost.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I mean,
weird,
I don't know anything
wild.
about her. Yeah, we should do an episode on her because that seems very interesting. Because creating like the pantheon we're creating right now is definitely people are ascending to godhood to become gods. So it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to you know hear how D&D has done it. But I don't know what I'm thinking. The two lines of thought again are whatever pillar you connect to kind of determines your pantheon, like what you know are the god of,
yeah.
or you just gain power and you can do whatever you want with that power. What's your any ideas? You like that? Do you like any of those?
I think it depends. I think that there should be
Do you have like a higher chance of
people.
success if you go to a pillar that aligns with whatever thing you want to do?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think there's a sort of a definite benefit to just going along with the power source that you are using's natural affinity.
Yeah.
But I think that the main important thing for godhood is the power that you are getting, not where it's coming from.
Okay. No, I think I like the idea of these pillars being like conscious entities that are,
Mm-hmm.
in slumber or whatever. I think that's what
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about previously. And I think if you connect to that entity, you can gain all this power. And it's easier to connect to an entity that follows your same ideology, right? So if you want to be the god of murder, like
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be, you know, just doing something, if you want to be Baal, you'd have to connect yourself to a pillar that more closely aligns to your belief. If you do,
Mm-hmm.
you have a higher chance of connecting to that pillar because some of the pillars will reject you if you're, like if you try to connect to a pillar of goodness and you're all evil, then it's not going to be as successful. So
Yeah.
I think that is a really interesting way to go. Now, I think we tried to talk about this earlier, and I think this is a good spot to do it. Is what does that ritual look like? How do you connect to a pillar? Is there just a magical ritual that you just like tether yourself to? Is it like Avatar where you have a cool little thing that like onto the onto the pillar? What are we looking for?
Hmm. What if you have to go into your own soul, pull out a chunk of it,
What? Oh gosh.
pull out a chunk of your soul, form it into a physical form, and bury it underneath the pillar? And
Huh.
it's
Kind of
almost
connecting to
like a lich's phylactery almost.
so we call those like soul shards. You have to create a soul shard and connect your soul shard to the pillar.
Yeah, bury it beneath the pillar. So I think the very fact that um, these soul shards are around means that you could, if they wanted to play that out at some point, make a storyline about having to kill one of these gods, and the only way is you have to make them vulnerable. So you have to destroy their soul shard before attacking them.
What if so okay, I like this idea. I like this idea of you have to like create some sort of soul shard. I even like the idea of you have to like give up your whole soul, like your entire soul. The only way to kill a god is to weaken the pillar and destroy the soul that the pillar is protecting, the souls that the pillar is protecting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basis of our campaign because we did have this idea of this character is trying to break these pillars, but why is he trying to break the pillars? Just to destroy the world doesn't really make a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like, because I mean, why destroy a world if you want to like inhabit the world or rule the world? So it could be interesting that if he breaks these pillars, he has access to all these god soul shards and can like consume them for power, or can like become all the gods if he may has a theory that he could become each god, or he could like rule over each god if he had their soul shards. It'd
So
be
okay,
really
have we
interesting.
created this villain yet?
No, I mean we've talked about him loosely, but we have not
Yeah.
created him.
What if it is like an ex god? Like he was a
He
god at one point, and
was
now
banished.
like maybe he was kicked out of the pantheon, and now he
Hmm.
everyone thought he was dead, but like somehow he survived, and his goal now,
His soul shard remained. If we go like the Harry Potter
yes,
route.
yes, exactly. And his goal now is to destroy them.
So then, did he resurrect as a mortal, or how does that work? Does he have like a
Yeah,
cult following that
I
brought him
think
back
he's
as a
definitely
mortal?
immortal now.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting if we had like he has a cult following that brought him back, or maybe is in the process of bringing him back in the campaign,
Hmm.
um, as immortal. I think that could be really interesting. And then, so then, what would that look like? Do you have to create a new soul for this person? Because his soul, does he just inhabit his
I
soul
think
shard
he.
again, and his soul shard
I,
disappears, so he has to recreate it?
I like the idea of if your soul shard breaks or dies or is destroyed or whatever, that is a part of your soul you are never getting back. And I don't think you can
Hmm.
create infinite souls. Like you can't create infinite soul shards because your soul isn't infinitely big.
What if? Oh my gosh, I have an idea. And this, I think you're gonna like this because you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
you like these kind of dark, weird things. What if? Um,
Make me sound weird, why
I
don't you?
like the idea. Yeah. No, I think you're gonna like this. What if? Um, I like the idea of you have to use your whole soul to create this soul shard. Like you have to give your whole entire essence to becoming a god if you create this soul shard. That's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
And if that soul shard breaks or is destroyed, you're destroyed, even if you're a god, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
pillars themselves essentially protect them. Like you can't get to the pillar. Maybe you could break it during these weakening times. There's different theories on how to get to these souls within the pillar. Um, Essentially, you're making like a soul spear that can like pierce through the pillar, and that's where it remains. So you like create this huge energy blast that sends your soul into the pillar that ascends you to godhood. Essentially, very difficult ritual. That's the only way that people have found out to pierce these pillars, like the magical
Mm-hmm.
essence of the pillars, is to shoot your soul, your literal soul, into it. Once that's done, you ascend to godhood, or you can ascend to godhood. Maybe there's another step that you have to do, but either way, you can ascend to godhood. If somebody gets a hold of your soul and crush it, break it, I don't know the method, but if they can get rid of it somehow, you're you're gone forever. What if this god was excommunicated from the pantheon, as you were suggesting, which means that his soul shard was like removed from existence? What if um, the gods thought they destroyed the soul within the pillar to eliminate it from existence, but maybe like a sliver or a fraction of it remained that fell into the hands of this god's cultists. Now it's too small of a soul to bring this human, this creature, this entity back to life. So they had to steal somebody else's soul and essentially like inject this old part of the soul to a new soul and resurrect him as this whoever soul they stole back to life. And then his old soul either A is like corrupting the new soul and taking it over slowly, which could be a PC, like a player character, or it's just now over the years is expanded and grown and he's become some sort of political figure or something like that. I think could be really interesting. So they had to like or some sort of
Can
dark.
I like most of this. I like 99% of this. I'm curious about if you'll let me go somewhere with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Um I like most of this. The one thing I would like to see if we could do something a little bit differently with is in terms of the I think what if this is the first god that's ever been like excommunicated? So the idea that hey, you destroy the soul shard, the person dies or is gone is like it's completely theoretical. But they
Okay.
believe it to be true because it is, as you said, the whole soul is put in there.
Yeah.
What if it's not? What if it is the whole soul and the whole soul dies? But what if they become some sort of like undead and nobody realized that he's still alive as this undead creature that's like and so his cult finds him and is trying to do everything you said, but like he is like in this weird undead state right now.
Okay. Interesting. I okay, I like this idea. I think my thought would be is and this might explain it maybe a little bit better, like he becomes a soulless entity, which is just like I don't know, some sort of corrupted body. So like I would picture it maybe not so much as like an undead. I mean, maybe he'd be considered an undead, but maybe not so much as like your classic zombie or whatever, or I mean, maybe like a count, like a maybe a vampire or something. But like it's just an entity that's has no anything. Like it's, I like the idea of you could still talk and speak to this entity, but it is no emotions. Everything, like its whole life force is drained from it, but you can still speak with it and talk with it. It just doesn't. It has no morality, no, because that's all stored within the soul, so to speak. Could be really
Mm-hmm.
weird and really disturbing.
Yeah.
So maybe in this state, in this weird amorphous soulless state, he comes up with the idea of how to get revenge on the pantheon. So it's like gruesome too. It could be extra gruesome because he has no. I mean, but I guess if he had no feelings, he'd have no like anger or wrath either.
Well, so what if he's like in a weird like catatonic state? Like he doesn't have a lot of like
Just a body in a
agency.
vat.
No, 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 no. Like I think he's in, like just like a brainless undead. But they realize it's the body of their god, and like it's important to the ritual, so they like are almost like corralling or like maybe even chaining up on a throne their undead lord as they're trying to bring him back. The idea of like this powerful undead chained to a throne in a in a some sort of church is giving me just so many like it just looks so cool in my brain
It
right
kind
now.
of reminds me, I don't know how much you know about Warhammer 40K lore. If you know anything, that could also be really interesting to look into for some of these episodes. Because
That is one of my like ideas and for topics is going into 40K, but I don't know much of it.
yeah, the emperor of the human race essentially is a god who is like, I think he ascended to godhood, but he is an undead entity that's only kept alive. I don't remember how, but he's a really interesting character. That's very similar to that, where they pretty much worship an undead entity who has like no cognitive ability at all, but he's still like powerful. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. You'd have to do more research into it, but it kind of reminds me
It
of
could be
that.
great. We should probably if you tell me the name of that individual, I will do research on it for next week, for next time we record, and then our
Yeah,
next
because I think
session
that would be a really good idea.
would be just building on this person, being inspired by that guy. Your idea of like, I think my ideas now are just going to like the idea of it needing to feed, and maybe it has to like eat,
Mm,
or consume some of the souls of its followers just to sustain itself.
I want to say the emperor is the same thing. He also needs to like
Mm-hmm.
feed to stay alive, which is why they go through so many wars.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember though. I'd have to look it up and send it to you, but that could be a really interesting thing. So let's do that. Let's put it kind of like a bookmark here, where we have this undead entity that
Mm-hmm.
was once a god. He
Yeah.
was cast out of the pantheon. His soul shard was destroyed, fully destroyed, and he became some sort of soulless entity, undead entity that is now discovered by his cult following. Maybe the secondary bad evil guy, his like right hand man, so to speak, I guess, who brings him back to their temple or whatever, and is now like
Mm-hmm.
worshipped on this throne. This like an undead entity is just worshipped on this throne. I think think is a really disturbing, interesting idea. We can then go into the specifics next episode about what he is, his backstory, how he became a god. After we do some more research and get some more ideas on how this is played out in other, stories and other things around
Mm-hmm.
in the fantasy world.
This is fascinating. This is a very good creation, and I'm
Yeah,
excited
no.
to see where we take it from here.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, do we even have him? Is he controlling these cultists secretly? Like, does he still have
I like to
cognitive
think
ability,
not at
or
all, and
no,
they
not at
like
all? And so it's
they
just
are so deluded in themselves that they think they can hear from him and stuff. Like there's an individual you meet in Act 2 of Baldur's Gate who is so crazy, who is so like no,
is this the
no.
surgeon guy?
I don't want to spoil too much. But he's a drider. Um and like you partially read his mind, and it's
Oh,
like
okay, yeah,
his mind is so far gone that you're
yep,
like, you can't tell if you're hearing the word of God in his head or
yep,
if he's just so far gone and messed up in the head that like
yep.
he hears these voices that he just assumes is the God.
Yeah, well, it could be interesting. Um, now it makes me want to do something a little different too. What if this god wasn't actually evil, but this cultist group like had a
I like this.
like had a different idea of what he was in their head?
My biggest question is, why did he get kicked out of the pantheon?
That's a good question.
Because I think that would be really cool if like they are tainting him in a certain way. Like maybe it's not just like maybe he wasn't evil to begin with. Some reason he was kicked out of the pantheon, but because he's been consuming the souls of these cultists, he's like kind of become what they dreamed him to be. Because their wish,
or they're trying to make him on purpose the way that they've seen
I
him.
kind of like the idea that they think
Could
they're
be
doing what
interesting,
this
too.
god wants. Like but they're not, because that's not what he would have wanted. He's a good guy. And so like their souls that he's consuming are tainting him.
Yeah, I mean, it could. Boy, either one of these, I really like. I like the idea of that he was evil and he's kicked out, and now cultists are trying to resurrect him. But I also like the idea of he wasn't necessarily evil. I don't know if he'd be good, but he wasn't evil.
Yeah.
And these cultists have now found his, dead body and are corrupting it to resurrect him back as what their vision was of him, even if it's on accident,
Yeah.
Be very interesting. But yeah, I think that's a good place to call it, though.
100%. I 100% agree. Well, thank you all for listening to episode 104 of Dungeoneered. If you'd like to write to us, if you have ideas for topics, lukewarm opens, or recipes, you can write to us at dungeoneered@hotmail.com.
Gosh dang it. Included recipes. I love it.
If you listen to us on any podcasting apps that have ratings and reviews, it really helps the show if you write a review. Lets people know what they're getting into, and it also helps bring more eyes our way, which we appreciate. Anything else to add, Aaron?
No, I don't think so. I think you already covered recipes, so I'm pretty much out of ideas now.
Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. And as I always say, always remember to be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
Deuces.